तिनक धिन धागे न 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 तिनक धिन.
Every day I wake, I make my mind up. I'ma be the one, be the truth, be the way. Yeah, every day I wake, I make my mind up. Gotta keep my mind on the because they only telling their side of the story. Out here telling lies like they on Marooned and poor rich kids get their money off on it. But down here in the hood, yeah, we know Forex. We growing up, yeah, we got the good. Build them assets, build them up fast. Get rid of cash before the whole market crash. A news flash, just a blast from the past. We gonna smash it, be prepared to hit the gas, yeah.
Build a land, get the wealth, change your name up. Get the title in your hands, switch your game up. Melanation, elevation, arise. We divide, blood eye, and we travel.
Try it.
Blood eye, and we travel.
Woo. Just my child. Woo.
Blood eye, and we travel. Hey, hey, hit him with the higher, yeah. Sherry no haka from Virginia, yeah.
I know I'm more because I'm blessed. I know I'm more. I passed the test.
We got to see with the true eyes. We need some brand new bright ideas. We got the hearts and some great minds, yeah. If we could all just be sincere.
Build a land, get the wealth, change your name up. Get the title in your hands, switch the game up. Melanation, elevation, arise. We divide, blood eye, and we travel.
Try it.
Blood eye, and we travel.
Woo. Just my child. Woo.
Blood eye, and we travel. Build a land, get the wealth, change your name up. Get the title in your hands, switch the game up. Melanation, elevation, arise. We divide, blood eye, and we travel. Hey, hey, hit him with the higher, yeah.
Peace to the party. Shahom boy, back again. Hey, Sunday service. What a beautiful time to be alive. Today, the agenda, the lecture is going to be Marooned in America. We got Dr. Anthony Dixon pulling up, from the Black Seminole Project. It's going to be a good one, man. Very informative. Also getting ready for Maroonville weekend. We got something special to talk to y'all about a little later on in the broadcast. All right. So how y'all doing, man? Y'all doing all right? Tap in the chat, man. Hit the like button on the way in. Let's kick your feet up, man. Let's chop it up. I don't know what it's like where y'all at, but in the South all over, it's cold. Some people got snow. It's crazy right now. All right. But it is what it is. We persevere. So a lot of y'all should have some time. Maybe y'all watching football. It's cool. You may be getting this later. However you get the message, we got to talk, man. Because right now, I feel like this media, boy, this machine got a chokehold on our people, bro. And I see so many folks at odds with each other or just opinion. And the crazy part is a lot of times these opinions that people put forward is not ones that they actually put some real time and effort into. They don't even understand that they are regurgitating exactly what the propaganda machine wants you to talk about, wants you to be emotional about, right? Instead of looking at the facts of the matter from an autonomous point of view. So we're going to use Minnesota as a case study because I don't know why, but for the past few years, almost everything that's a super political event is coming out of Minnesota, bro, which is, I don't even know how they play a role. But then when you start talking about the key players that have been implicated in certain things, then it started to make a little bit of sense, right? Just based on factual evidence that we can actually go research based on what's being presented, right? So a fellow YouTuber, because they like to make fun of YouTube and say this ain't no real platform, no real media, XYZ. But Nick Shirley, who did the documentary out there in Minnesota showing what he alleged to be fraud and putting the details behind it, they called him in front of Congress to be a witness to testify to what he had seen and with his evidence, right? So I want to start there. I want to start with you hearing part of what he's alleging, based on what he's seen in his own eyes, along with law enforcement investigator who was the one that gave him the dollar amount information to which daycare. So this wasn't just no picking random. Nah, they was going to specific places that was getting government funding based on the list from the investigator. So check this out, bro. Let me bring him up. I want y'all to hear what he say. Then you know how we do. Let's just talk about it. All right, so let me get this right. All right, here we go. If the audio tripping, y'all hit me in the chat. Let me know.
Lee, you're recognized for your opening statement.
Awesome. I'm here today to speak on behalf of all hardworking,
Hey, in the chat, let me know if y'all can hear it.
law-abiding, tax-paying citizens here inside of the United States. I've helped bring to light widespread fraud that's happening inside our nation, and we the people have had enough of our hard-earned money going towards fraudsters as if it's no big deal. As I speak here, I want to ask everyone a question. How much do we trust when we pay our taxes it's going to benefit our nation? People erupted during the Boston Tea Party over just a few percentages as they believed they were being taxed without representation. Nowadays, we have the representation, but do we trust our representatives? My name is Nick Shirley, and I made a 41-minute video that I posted on platforms like X and YouTube. My video received over 100 million views, and it created instant change within our government. As the federal government launched investigations in departments such as Health and Human Services froze over $185 million in child care funding until businesses was happening in Minnesota. And properties because people are curious about these assisted livings that are popping up next door to some of the houses that we're buying, or the home health care clinics that are popping up, and we don't know who's next to these houses that we're trying to sell. And I said, well, I'm not going to come and make a video if I don't have any proof. So therefore, I left Minnesota, and I continued to look for fraud in the best way I could. And as I was getting my own information, a man by the name of David reached out to me, and he said, hey, I have been investigating this fraud for years now. I have been driving by these childcare centers. I've never seen a single child, and I have received information from the state of Minnesota as to how much we arrived, and it was an industrialized building, and there was 2 daycares registered at that building. And the first thing I noticed is all the windows are blacked out, and there's no footprints in the snow of any children. There's no playgrounds or anything that would make it look like it's a child care. But above me, a sign read, open 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. But there was nobody there. The doorbell did not even work. And then we continued to go to other daycares, and we noticed the same pattern. No children, blacked out windows, and one daycare, a learning center, spelled Quality Learning Center instead of Quality Learning Center. They had received $1.9 million, yet with that $1.9 million, they could not even spell Leering right on their sign. Governor Walz has said he's been fighting fraud in Minnesota since 2019 and said the buck stops with him. However, how long would it take for you to notice $1 million leaving your bank account and not knowing where it's going? That's essentially what had been happening in Minnesota for years, as billions of dollars had been misplaced. And meanwhile, while people like Governor Tim Walz call people like me a white supremacist, delusional conspiracy theorist, he actually decided to drop out of re-election because I believe of how deep and extensive this fraud is. Thank you very much. Since my reporting, the HHS department froze over $185 million, and to this day, not a single business has been able to prove proof of legitimacy. How fast would you be proving that you are a legitimate business if you have children to actually feed and to take care of? You'd be sending in that paperwork instantly. I made this video to document the widespread fraud that has been taking place, as I truly believe all fraud is bad. And people like me, my generation, we're sick of seeing tax dollars go towards fraud. We just want to have the same opportunities that our fathers and our grandparents had. And when you see people making millions of dollars by committing fraud, it upsets everybody from all age demographics. And so I hope today we can have a good conversation, and I think we can all agree that fraud is bad and that fraud is fraud. And I wish the best for our country, and I think that's what needs to be happening, is to crack down on all forms of fraud. So thank you for having me, and God bless the USA.
Mr. Shirley, now I guess investigative journalists are known as right-wing social media influencers. So can you confirm how many daycare centers you personally visited in Minnesota during your investigation?
During that first video, we went to around 7.
How did you select those facilities? I know you said earlier footprints in the snow, but how was it that you identified those facilities to go to initially?
So the man David in the video, he had the daycares with the CCAP funding, and we just simply drove around Minnesota and around Minneapolis area.
Took a lot of courage.
Hey, so quick point. The guy David that he just mentioned is the guy who gave him the paperwork, the evidence, showing where the money was going from the government to these daycares. He got about 28 years of law enforcement experience. This is in his field. It wasn't just no random dude getting this information. So it makes sense why it would be credible. You feel me?
Courage to do that, I would imagine. Probably more so now than what it was when you initially did it. 100 million views, you said.
Yes, over 140 million views on X alone.
So what was Mr. David's background? How did you connect with him, and how did he call you, or did you reach out?
He simply is just a man in Minnesota who has a passion for his city, and he's been seeing fraud taking place for years. And out of all the thousands of messages I get on Instagram and other platforms, I just happened to read his, and he provided me the information, so I gave him a phone call.
And then from there, just went to those different facilities. What was probably the most interesting thing as you were doing this? I think I saw the video. We watched it, and it looked like it was a number of facilities like in the same building.
Yes. So in one building, there was, I believe, 3 daycares, and there was no children. And they were all receiving CCAP funding for separate daycares. There's one daycare we went to that one day it was closed by the government, and then that same day it was reopened underneath another name. And they both received CCAP funding.
So how many daycares are there in Minneapolis we think are fraudulent right now, Mr. Shirley? Any idea? Are the amount of money total? You got any idea on that?
Well, they've frozen over $185 million, and not a single business has been able to prove that they're a legitimate business yet.
So 185 million for sure that we know.
Mr. Shirley, thank you for your testimony today and the work that you
Heard what he said, bro. So they froze $185 million worth of payments to the different facilities getting the money. And to get it back, you got to verify that you're real, right? And they saying that what they just said was no, out of the people that they froze, ain't none of them hit back yet to get it right. So that right there is definitely a red flag. Now, once again, this ain't just no YouTube. This before Congress.
have done. Americans hear these numbers of the fraud that we have, and whether it's 10,000 or 10 million or 10 billion, sometimes the numbers, you almost become desensitized to it. And so the way that your video was able to show people the fraud sort of in real life actually happening, I think opened a lot of eyes and has helped to catalyze a level of scrutiny that we really should have had before. So you mentioned in your testimony that you think that what you discovered in Minnesota, that this is not isolated to that state, but likely exists in other parts of the country as well, correct?
Correct.
What makes you think that?
Well, now you're seeing, since I've posted that video, lots of other people have started to go to other locations, for instance, in Ohio or in Maine or in California. They're also seeing the similar fraud take place in other daycares, for instance, in a lot of other locations.
Yeah, I have a particular interest in California, being from that state, and we know that there's been a lot of fraud. There was $32.6 billion that's been confirmed in unemployment insurance fraud. There's 1.2 million fraudulent community college applications. Have you gotten any sense, or have you seen any signs there that sort of are similar to what aroused your suspicions in Minnesota?
Yeah, and fraud in California might be worse than the fraud in Minnesota.
What makes you say that?
Well, $24 billion went missing for homelessness. They've been trying to build this train for years, yet there's hardly anything to prove for that. Fires.
Yeah, those are good points. So you look at let's run through a couple of those because I mentioned the areas where.
Hey, so I'm trying to, here we like to, so it's a part of research, a part of being able to actually form an opinion is to go actually watch the things that are going on. I feel like it's not too many times you go to platforms and a lot of folks, they really just trusting that the person presenting them their perspective is giving them an honest take because they themselves did not go watch what happened. Right. And so the viewpoint that we had when we know this our land, we know that this system was put on top of us to strip us from participating. It makes zero sense not to know what's going on and have your own understanding because these things do affect us. And I'm going to show y'all how this is. We all have said corruption within the government, right? We all have said that some money is being moved suspiciously. Now is the easiest time to be able to prove that. And I'm going to show you how. But let's listen to what they're saying. Because they in Congress admitting that they know all this fraud exists.
Where we have confirmed fraud, but then you also have these areas where you have so much spending, and then we look at what results from that spending, and there's nothing. So $24 billion in homelessness, and yet the homeless population went up, and a state audit found that they couldn't even figure out where the money went or what the outcomes linked to that spending were. Is that something that is kind of a red flag for you?
Yeah, it's a major red flag, and you don't even have to be smart to be able to know that that's a red flag.
Well, unfortunately, our state legislators haven't managed to figure that out, or at least the governor hasn't. So what are you saying about him?
They're not smart. No, but yeah, I mean, it's so obvious, and that's what we saw in Minnesota is how complicit the government has been in enabling this fraud to happen. Quality Learning Center had over 90 violations, yet they continue to give that daycare $1.9 million.
Yeah, that's a great point. That there's the political accountability just hasn't been there, and that's what enables it to continue. So then you mentioned the high-speed rail as well.
Okay, so he basically gonna go on to tell you about fraud that's happening in California, how programs, social issues, it can be a multiplicity of things that they can say that are issues related to the government. Money is then created for a fund, and it goes to an NGO, a non-governmental organization. These are the consultants who carry out whatever is supposed to happen, right? So now if your social issue got $15 million to carry out some work that the rest of the Americans don't even know exists, so you just make it look like you did something. These are how your BLMs, right? This is how Omar out there in Minnesota, right? She come in broke. So they made it they alleged that she has that when you a public office, you got to disclose your income, right? So she come in saying she had, not even 100,000 in net worth, but then within a year, they alleging it's anywhere from 6 to 30 million based on her own disclosure, right? Now she is affiliated with the Minnesota situation. So it's funny that all this alleged fraud is being uncovered in Minnesota, and then the main political people, you got the governor Walz was just ran for vice president and lost. Okay, so almost every big political action the last since George Floyd basically has all been Minnesota. Why is they the headquarters from ICE for the news to always be talking about it? It really don't make no sense, right? But then let's go listen to what they said, because they alleged things about another politician.
Has Representative Ilhan Omar's net worth skyrocketed? A new report based on her latest financial filing shows her husband's company's value soared up to $30 million in 1 year. The Washington Free Beacon first reported that. This follows Omar's denial that she's a millionaire. She claimed that she's been the subject of right-wing disinformation campaigns about her financial status.
According to Omar's 2025 Congressional Financial Disclosure Report, which of course covers 2024, the Minnesota Congresswoman and her husband's assets clocked in at up to 3,500% higher than in 2023. The details in the filing show the vast jump came from her husband, Tim Minette's two companies. Those are a winery in California and a venture capital firm. Combined, the Free Beacon reports that the companies had been worth only about $51,000 at the end of 2023. It should be noted that while the company's values increased, The disclosures do not show the couple taking any income from the venture capital firm, and reported between $5,000 and $15,000 in income from the winery.
But the skyrocketing value is under scrutiny. The Spectator contributor David Seifer Jr. wrote, quote, Omar's financial disclosure is more than a tabloid headline. It's a cultural moment. Here is one of the loudest critics of capitalism, now sitting on the kind of wealth that capitalism makes possible.
Hey, and that's a good point right here that he just said, because the Democrats are steady telling us that it's Republicans are the only ones that's rich. They always say we want to get the billionaires. Whole time the Democratic Party is not no slouches, and when it come to money, bro, they is getting paid, and a lot of them are aligned with certain entities of business, such as big pharma. You feel me? Entertainment. You see what I'm saying? Like, they are in certain aspects that they target a different demographic in the business world, but they are no doubt about it still participating in capitalism. We got to stop. There's no way we can just keep thinking one side bad, the other side good, bro. There's a game being played on us, and they are the ones that want the black people. It just is what it is. So they just basically breaking down how not only are they, this ain't just no whispers, they are saying based off her own information that she put out that her income, her estate has grown 3,500%. How is that possible? When you got a venture, how do you have the money to have a venture capital business? That means, where did you accumulate it from? I got a pretty good idea. If you are the one from the government position who can make sure that these certain daycares and all the other businesses associated with public aid go to certain people, you can get a cut off each one of them. There's so much money going around. You feel me? It's not really absurd to think that, oh, she could have got a cut off of each one going to her venture capital company. And that's how you can amass this type of money so quickly. The same amount of money that they saying is they alleging over $9 billion worth of fraud just in this area, bro, over the time that it's been happening. That ain't no small number, bro. So then check it out. So then here go when stuff get real crazy, and I really just can't understand it, right? So out there for you Texas people, Jasmine Crockett, we know she the next superstar for the Democrats, right? She just had a debate for the Senate in Texas. And like always, anytime these folks talk, they never talk about what their policies are. They just saying how they need to get in position to be able to stop Trump from doing whatever he doing. It's like, bro, you running to be in Senate. You're not even in the stratosphere to be able to affect Trump singularly. Like, you feel me? No senator has that much power. This man is still the president. Why wouldn't you just be worried about winning over your constituents? Because they know that's the hot button topic. All you got to do is talk about Trump. You ain't got to bring no actual policy. But I want y'all to hear for yourself, because I'm going to prove that they brought up Trump, and I want you to hear in which way they did, right? And then I like the way that they was questioned, because they couldn't sit up under that fire. Buddy who was doing it was a black man, coincidentally enough.
But I stand before.
Hold on, let me get to it. It's about right here. Yeah, check this out, bro.
Structure would only allow for him to do the things that he's been doing now, which is to continue to bully people. And so as they voted on the War Powers resolution, they received a phone call from the White House saying you need to change your votes. And so people changed their votes. And so first step that we've got to do is we've got to actually get to the majority. That is why this Texas seat matters. This is actually bigger than Texas. This is about our democracy and this country right now. This seat has to flip if we are going to make these changes. So we've got to make sure that we've got the numbers. But also, we got to talk to those Republicans that feel like the Republican Party has just left them, such as the Thomas Masseys of the world, who will always stand up and do what he truly believes in. There are still a few senators like a Tom Tillis who are left in the U.S. Senate. We've got to decide that we are going to band together with whichever Republicans have decided that they actually want to honor their oath to the Constitution.
All right, let's get back to some domestic topics. Ms. Crockett, you have said you would absolutely at least support an impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump if he engaged in misconduct. Under what specific circumstances, if any, would you support impeachment or an impeachment inquiry, and where do you draw the line? You have 60 seconds.
So I want to be clear about this. The statement he just made was from a while ago, before things got as bad as they are right now. I think that there is more than enough to impeach Donald Trump, period, on the face of it. In fact, Al Green has put on the floor.
Okay, so she brought up that Trump needs to be impeached. So, because this is they made this a topic for the Democratic, the primary, right, for Texas. So watch how they set up.
Or more than once, impeachment resolutions, and I have voted for them. Now, ultimately, you know, do I think that we should go through the formal process so that we can do all of the data collection that we need to do so that we can have all of the evidence? Absolutely, because basically it is a prosecution. And so we need to make sure that people are actually honoring those subpoenas. We need to get all of the information. And so I think that we should start at an impeachment inquiry. We should go and get all of the information. We should allow the American people to hear and see that information, call their representatives, urge them to make the votes. And then ultimately, if we feel like there is enough evidence that has been presented in committee, which it most likely would be judiciary where I currently serve, then we take that vote. We take it to the entire House floor. Now, there are those that say there is no point because we impeached him twice and then he ultimately did not get convicted. Is that where you're going?
Ms. Crockett, but name one thing specifically that he should be impeached for.
I think that he should be impeached as it relates to his unlawful use of the tariffs. That's a
You heard what she just said, huh? She said that he should be impeached just because of tariffs. So if I'm in her position, what I'm thinking is they ask you, so now is your time to shine. If you got this smoking gun evidence, now is your time to present it to the world because you know this going to go viral. And you say out of your mouth that he should be impeached. The main thing that you could think of was tariffs. Now look, y'all, come on. This is where discernment, listening to whole things and forming a real opinion and fact checking these people. Bro, you can literally go to Google. Your Google work just like my Google and put it in there. Do presidents have the authority to issue tariffs via executive orders? So literally the first thing that come up, bro, it said, while the U.S. Constitution grants Congress the exclusive power to regulate commerce and impose tariffs, presidents have the authority to issue tariffs via executive actions, such as proclamations or executive orders based on specific delegated authority from Congress. The powers are not absolute, though. So if Trump comes and said, I'm making tariffs and everything that come in got to go to Trump Incorporated, the government money, okay, so now you're talking about something. However, the Trade Expansion Act of 1962 grants the president power to adjust imports if they are deemed a threat to U.S. national security. And then the second one, the Trade Act of 1974 allows the president to impose tariffs on countries engaging in unfair trade practices, such as intellectual property theft. This is verbatim what he was saying when he was his rationale about us using tariffs on these countries is because they've been strong arming us, taking our intellectual property. China definitely see we make it hot in America. They gonna have their own version of it. So why in the world, out of all things, would you use this saying that's what you want to impeach somebody on, bro? It's because it's a game. It's a game being played, all right? And we the ones that's getting played the most because we buying into this. So once again, you got all of this stuff going on, this political theater to take us off our real purpose. This is the reason why we have been exiled in our own land. You hear me? This is why we are where we are right now. But you know, this is why we bring the information because we got to be sound on all levels, historically, politics, our finances, the whole mentally, spiritually, the whole, you know what I'm saying, 360 view, the autonomous way. So look, we got a good show for y'all. You know, appreciate everybody who's been tapped in with us. We streaming on Facebook, on X, and of course on YouTube. Like it. Leave us a comment. Share it with your people. We appreciate all that, man. You know, those who super chat us to keep the mission going, showing you Nick Shirley, right? Independent media went to Congress. Y'all say y'all believe in y'all genealogy and in y'all people and in y'all story. It's on us to push the right information forward if they deserve it and putting in the work. And we definitely know we check that box. So for those of y'all who've been rocking with us, appreciate it. But we're looking for new people too, because it's the only way we can grow the message. Because we can make our impact as well. We ain't got to keep looking at everybody else making moves. We could be doing the same thing. I'm just saying though. But hey, look, Gullah Man's Quiet just hit me. We finna let them go and rock out. And then we got Dr. Dixon, we got Mac. We about to do a good show. Appreciate y'all. Y'all hold tight. We going to the Gullah Man's Choir, and then it's on, man. Peace.
They changed our names, but the truth still lives.
Some say we came from far away. Some say we've always been right here. Two stories at the same doorway, both chasing what our hearts hold dear.
Old maps, new maps, who's to say? We just want the truth that they erase.
Two roads, one people,
still searching for the name they stole.
Baby, baby, two roads, one people,
still walking back to what we know.
Oh, we rise together, no matter which path we chose. No, 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 two roads, one people,
still coming home,
still coming home.
Some want unity to heal the pain, some want records to clear the lies. But either way we break the chains and lift the story they deny. Lineage, memory, same heartbeat, just different ways to find our feet.
One people,
Still searching for the name they stole. Oh, two roads,
one people,
still walking back to what we know.
oh, we
rise, no matter which path we chose. Oh, no, no, two roads, one people, still coming home, still coming home.
We remember, we remember, we remember who we are.
They turned our nations into colors, but the truth kept living in our bones. Every step we take uncovers the road that leads us back home. One people still searching for the name they stole. Two roads, one people still walking back to what we know. Oh, we rise, no matter which path we chose. Oh, two roads, one people, still coming home, still coming home, still coming home. Still coming home, still coming home. Still coming home.
100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society. and finds himself in exile in his own land.
Familiar streets, still feel far from home. Born where the ground know my name, still asking permission to stand. They sold the future in papers, now we pay just to live on the land. No change, just rules we never chose. Old lies dressed up as law. If you don't know what's been taken, you won't miss it at all. Exile in our own land, standing where we belong. Yeah. They convinced us this ain't our country. Now we've been here moving wrong. Exiled in our own land, roots deep, still feel alone. Taught us how to survive here. Never taught this was home. Hell came tied with a leash. Every favor had a fee. They call it progress, call it order. I call it quiet captivity. If the game was set before us before we learned the rules, you don't blame the player for losing when the table's rigged to choose. No border still confined. They erased us with education, left us searching our own mind. This ain't exile by distance, it's exile by design. They don't have to move you if they move the truth. Now the fight is for remembrance, for the names they made us forget. Once you see it clearly, you don't ask for a seat, you said, same ground, new rules, same blood, new name. Still here, still waiting for what was never meant to change. Still here, still waiting, same blood, still waiting for what was never. Exiled in our own land, but the fog lifting slow. They can't keep what we remember. They can't hold what we know. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, 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 oh,
Yeah. Yeah, I had to surprise you with that one, Mac. Let me go and bring Mac up. Yeah. Got something for you, man. They hit me saying, yeah.
Exile in the old land, you heard me. Yeah.
Wow.
What you say? Can you hear me? I'm there.
I say exile, bro. Yeah, you good.
For sure. Oh, for sure.
Loud and clear.
Exile in our own land, man. That's a Maroon right there. That's the Maroon situation us Americans are in. You know what I mean? And obviously, you know, there's a lot of history to it.
Facts.
It's a lot of history to it. We obviously got the Dixon for that. You know what I mean? We got a lot of things coming with him this year in a few 30 days or so. So, you know, we're going to highlight some things today dealing with the present time frame. Obviously, some history, you know what I mean? And obviously, some things I think get confusing. So we want to kind of have the doctor here because he did a whole dissertation on it. You know what I'm saying? Got the book on it. And, you know, get with him a little bit and discuss some of these things that so people can hear it from someone that, you know, wrote all the information tied to this information. So it has a project getting ready to come out as we've been supporting, and we want y'all to support, you know what I mean, as it's coming along, and he's moving around. Trust me, man's moving around. He's not just sitting still. You know what I'm talking about? So
he been on it.
Yeah. Shout out to Dr. Dixon, going to be pulling up on us in a second. Is he here?
Not yet.
Not yet. Let me text him, make sure. You know, he told me make sure. So I'm gonna text him real quick.
Yeah. I'm getting everything loaded up, bro.
Yeah, no problem. You got my first one though, right? As he gets ready to pull up.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I put it into another file because that one it was too small. Let me see what it look like. I got a backup one, but let me just see what it look like. Yeah, it looks. What it look like on your end?
I mean, I see it, but you have to zoom in.
Yeah, see, I can't zoom on this one.
But
I got another one. Don't worry. Yeah.
No pressure. No pressure there. It's still the same joint then, right? I can still read from mine.
Yeah.
If I had to go about it that way, just so everybody can know what we talking about here.
Yep. It just formatted differently. But yep.
There we go. I ain't wanted to come out that way when I sent it, but it kept giving me.
It's just the only way when it's the PDF. Yeah, it
Right.
got to be a PowerPoint. Let me do my thing on it.
I think I sent it. I sent it as a slide. Should have sent it as a point. Actually, you're right. Oh, so it's your boy Mac Ether. You know what I mean? Gullah Mac. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the party, the autonomous way. You know what I mean? The harsh reality is live life autonomously. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate y'all for tapping in live with us or after the fact. Always much love to our haters as well, because we are Maroons. We don't care. You know what I'm talking about? We're gonna do this anyway. You know what I mean? So however the case might be, the information is getting out because of how we do this the autonomous way. You hear me? So whenever you're ready, I'm ready to get it.
Yeah, for sure.
And shout out to everybody in the chat one more time. You heard me?
Yeah, real quick before we get started. So he say Chaotic Truth Live link. Not sure what you mean. Tell me what you mean in the chat. And then Buddy say exile. You know there's a whole big one continent called Africa that you can go to. Hey, buddy, boy, funny, bro.
They trolling early, huh?
Yeah, just stick around. Maybe you'll learn something.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Let that sit there for a minute. We're gonna laugh later with you. We're gonna laugh later with you.
Yep, Dr. Dixon just pulled up on us. It's on you.
And it's crazy that, like, what's exile got to do with Africa?
That's the part. You need to look what that word means.
Yeah, like, why would we be putting exiled in Africa in the same situation? Because somebody in all those nations in Africa, a lot of them in certain cases could be exiled.
They exiled in their own land.
It too. So nothing to do with the fact of what we talking about. Did y'all hear that what the white boy was just saying? What's the dude you just playing that was in the Congress meeting talking about taxation without representation? But now we got representation, but the representation is corrupt. You know what I'm talking about?
Listening.
That was a quick. I didn't hear none of that though. So I'm gonna laugh with you too. You heard me? So tap in. So why this conversation matters? Since it starts off like that, it's because how can someone belong to a nation by law yet live as an outsider? See, because this is a Maroon conversation. If you ain't got no, you know what I mean, and understand that heritage of who was in this position in America, then this ain't got nothing to do with anything but that, because you might not relate. But for those that learn today, while we're saying what we're saying on the Maroon side of things, this is structured condition. You know what I mean? Not an accident. You know what I'm talking about? I'm gonna slide up a little bit.
Yeah, hold on one second. Get them picture.
Status versus condition. Status equals legal classification. Condition equals lived reality. And it's only a certain group of people who were in a situation but lived a certain reality within the country we call America. You know what I'm talking about? Who can possess full status and live under suppression? It's only a certain group of people in America that fit these situations. You know what I'm talking about? In America. You know what I mean? I don't know about nobody in Africa. I ain't talking about no other people, but a particularly unique group of people. You heard me? Keep on going.
Yep.
Nationals by birth. Africa is not a nation. America is a nation. United States of America is a nation. And they have members of an American body politic. A continent does not have a body politic.
Right. North America is not a nation.
Right. In North America, the term North America is not a nation. It's just
continent.
a land.
Yeah.
You hear me? So we are talking about a people within a context of a body politic and how they're being treated conditionally, you know what I'm saying? On a social, political, economic, and cultural level. You know what I'm talking about? And having to do things autonomously or in a suppressed way. Some people like to call slavery, chattel slavery, indentured servitude, etc. But those who also lived outside of that, obviously too, would be known as Maroons, or in indigenous ways. Shout out to the Creek, Muskogee, Seminole. You know what I mean? Yacht Seminole, by the way. You know what I mean? I said that in a minute. But either way, political membership is inherent. You know what I'm talking about? Political. We didn't say racial. We didn't say continents. We said political. All right? It's politics, as usual with this. So membership is inherent. So it's only a group of people. See that thing at the top, y'all? Birthright nationals? Well, the people they call the Negro happens to fit this category. That is the actual status that we are in. We're birthright nationals. You'll say, when though, man? Well, 13th, 14th, the 15th Amendment.
Correct.
At that point, no matter if you want to say you got your 100% this, that, on a racial level, and the jokes buddy people and throw it out there like that, we know we keeping it serious on some maroon conversation when we tell you that we know we're birthright nationals and we're marooned from the pleasures of what nationals that have birthright to this system right here we're pointing to.
Hey.
American body politic. Yeah, that part. Go ahead, Amante.
So let me add something. Nah, you on point. So this kind of surmise what's going on in the chat. You really giving us an alley-oop and don't even know it. So here go the issue here. We say with Africa, right? When we've done our genealogy and we follow history, we see a different lineage of people who ain't white coming or Asian that are in certain areas, like in the Southeast for sure, who had a history long before any Europeans came here. But regardless of that, no matter where you believe you are from, we also know that the system in America changed when it came to after the Civil War, 1870 to be specific. And the more people you can enumerate within a census for this new federal system established by the 14th Amendment, the more money that this United States of America nation could capitalize on based on leveraging you as a citizen. See, y'all think it's a skin game. The skin game was just to get the land. That was the racial game. So understanding what we saying now with a birthright national is this is people who are on this land already, who assumed citizenship, and it was not by choice. It wasn't by force either. It was through paperwork. Go ahead, Matt.
Yes, exactly. What they call Emancipation Proclamation, Reconstruction treaties.
Yeah.
Or amendments that affected, everybody, even though it's still a status, freedmen. You know what I mean? The term freedman comes about. But bring Dr. Dixon up, man.
All right. Let's see. I'm about to bring you on, brother.
All right.
Peace.
Hey, good evening, brothers. How we doing?
We're doing all right.
Good deal.
So yeah, we just walking through a present time before we get into the, but I wanted you to be here with it. You tap in at any time too with your thoughts on what we have here. You know what I mean? Dealing with the present ideal of being marooned from our status after the 14th Amendment took place and the things that we went through leading up to even, the famous quote from Martin Luther King, exiled in our own land, which would be in the civil rights era. So we're going from a 100-year period, which would be from 1865 to 1965. And obviously in our current condition, when we're talking about what we're talking about based off of the birthright national situation and how we hear a lot of people speak on ideas of them being immigrants, them being minorities, or even because of the indigenous side of it, people wanting to be inside of that body politic with treaties and everything tied to it, particular nations, indigenous nations, etc. And those people are in a certain position as well when we look at this structure of American civil body politic. What you think about that, Dr. Dixon?
Well, I think, the problem has always been that anything collectively outside of the white experience gets homogenized, right? That people's cultures, people's backgrounds, people's even their living spaces and arrangements and identity gets homogenized. And so when that happens, you begin to just collectively put these people in a group. And when you do that, some of that identity is lost, right? And as people try to fight to retain their identity, the more pushback there is because it's simply easier, right? It's simply easier to say, no, y'all just this. We don't care how y'all black, y'all just black, right? And so then the pushback is, well, no, I'm Afro-Caribbean. No, I'm Black American. No, I'm foundational Black. You see what I'm saying? And so the issue is, how do we keep our identity within ourselves and within our own cultural identity, right? But then on an outward plane, when we're dealing with those who are outside of that whole constructed identity, right? Or outside of that homogeneous group, how do we retain some type of unity as well? And that's the real thing that it has to come down to, right? Because what we get, even with that homogeneous shared identity, is we do get that collective experience, right? Because people from Africa, people from South America, people from the Caribbean, all those, even blacks from Europe, right? When they come to America, they don't get this American experience, they get the black experience, you see? And that's the homogenization that they have to come to the realization of, right? So it's fine to say you're Afro-Caribbean. We love going to Jamaican clubs. We love going to see Jamaican, having Jamaican food, to the restaurant, everything else. But on a certain level, there has to be an identity in which we also agree to as who we are when dealing with outside people. And that's the struggle, I think, that happens, because the outside group, let's call it like it is, whites are quick to simply group us and homogenize us and put us into one collective experience. They even do it in dealing with us, right? We see how they have repeatedly, and it started all over again around 2000, well, really in the late 90s, going into the 2000s, where they wanted to just collectively deal with the Caribbean. They didn't want to recognize Jamaicans and the country of Jamaica having its own identity outside of Barbados, outside of Trinidad. They just want to put one collective policy to deal with all of the Caribbean.
Right, but I mean, I get what you're saying on the level of a Jamaican, a Haitian, Trinidadian, Bahamian. We have them all down here in Florida, especially. You know what I'm saying? And even more. You know what I mean? Groups that will fall underneath. If we're all walking down the street, and a white man, they would say, or a police back in the day, you know what I mean? They black. You feel me?
Right.
So that's the black experience that you're talking about, in a manner of them knowing that in this country, they're going to be treated like us. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Now, in a social, political, economic way, culturally, especially dealing with the system, not amongst each other, because we already know we're not the same. You see what I'm saying? We know that amongst each other. We know this. We do it all the time. You know what I mean? We delineate in how we talk. You feel me? Like you said, we go to the Jamaican spot. You already let them know that you're not a Jamaican. You feel me? Just off of how we you know what I mean? We participate in different cultures underneath the umbrella being called black. Feel me? But we're the ones that we didn't immigrate in still. See what I'm saying?
Right.
And we are tied to this birthright national situation from a systematic standpoint, easily from the time from 1865. And this is before a majority of the people today, no matter if they're having the black experience, cannot heritage or lineage wise connect themselves back to our actual experience of what you're even seeing right now going on, like you said, amongst all the different groups dealing with reparations or restoration or different terms they are using. You know what I mean? So I think
I agree.
that right there seems to be the wide range of things when we just be honest and non-biased about what we got going on. I mean, I over here at the party, we say maroon. You know what I'm saying? We like to say maroon overall. We, this term maroon is tied to exile. And that's from a political standpoint. You know what I mean? Some other people like use freedmen. Some people like to say they're just Indians. You know what I mean? But in case in point, and some people like to say they Negro, Black, African American, right? So we have so many different dynamics, even amongst our own selves, who fall underneath this birthright national status. That a person, no matter if they look like us or even treated like us, they're not like us as far as our status when it comes to us being American. You know what I mean? So
right.
That right there. You can move to the next slide. Don't know they've been sitting there for a minute, Monte, so we can get to the good parts of these things. The maroon position, a condition, not a legal status, forced, shout out to the party, autonomous survival inside a claiming power. We can look at plenty of examples in history. You can keep it sliding, Monte, because of timing, of where that's happened, on how the maroon condition operates. Internal exile, civil death, administrative reclassification, which means, prior to 1865, many of our groups regionally could have been going by different situations based off of what's going on. But underneath the system, after the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, they all take on what they call a freedman status underneath that situation of the Reconstruction Amendments. But at the same time, they're kind of losing their civil liberty of themselves because of the fact now they're going to be categorized and put into this condition, which is the internal exile position that Martin Luther King was talking about in 1965. What you think about that?
Well, I think that again goes to the same thing. Nothing new under the sun. This reclassification is still something that is done in order to continue their advantages thereof, right? And so for us internally, it's fine to accept, the idea of an internal exile, right? I think that's actually a good thing, because if you keep the mentality of an internal exile, then it also keeps the mentality of self-reliance, right? And so you want to continue to keep your community intact, and what your community does what's best for itself, right?
Right.
Which means you get to both economically as well as socially do things to make sure that your community stays intact, thrives, and moves forward, right? So the ideology behind internal and the ideas behind internal exile, I think we should keep. I don't think we should ever let those basic ideologies go.
Me either.
Because it's what keeps us going in terms of what we want to do to keep our communities going and intact. Now, the administrative classification, right? I think that's the real thing that we really have to key in on, because in this country, right, there's always been a theoretical and a practical, right? And I get into this debate with a lot of people, theoretically, right? From the very inception of this country, theoretically, this was a perfect quote unquote union, theoretically. All men created equal and blah, 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 and everything else. Right. But the thing about it is, the practical application of it has never been that.
Correct.
Right. And that's the real problem, right? So when we deal with administrative reclassification, those labels and all of those things that go down on paper look good. And it looks like we're retaining identity, and there's this chance of the ideologies from internal exile being able to continue to promote the community and everything else. But the actual practical application of this administrative reclassification, it hurts us every time. And I'm gonna give you a good example. When we were interviewing the Black Seminoles in Oklahoma, right? when they reclassified them, and they did exactly what you just said, this administrative reclassification, right? Where they went from their true identities, right, to black / Negro, right? And when they got administratively reclassified to black / Negro, all of the rights that they should have gotten as an indigenous person,
they're done,
right, went away immediately.
Correct.
Right.
And so that's what I'm saying. We have to look at, right, the theoretical on what they put on paper and what they say versus what they actually do.
Correct.
And now I'm gonna fast forward and give you another example, right? Same thing, Oklahoma, dealing with the Seminoles, right? In time, the United States went back, right? They went back and looked at that reclassification, right? And they actually changed the classification in dealing with the Seminole nation, right? So they made no distinction between the blacks and the natives, no distinction with this quote unquote freedmen, right? They simply said the freedmen had the same rights. If we're going to count up all of these things, we're going to do it all for the Seminole nation. We're not going to split hairs anymore, right? Okay, now within the Seminole nation in Oklahoma, they went back and started trying to change the dynamics of quote unquote freedmen and everything else. So right now, today, they're fighting for the things that the government actually gave the Seminole nation, with them included. And one of them, and probably I think is a serious one, that they really, once they do go to court and get to reclaiming those rights and dealing with their Native American counterparts, was during COVID, right?
Yeah.
When the United States government put and looked at the Seminole nation in Oklahoma, they looked at them in totality, right? And so when they looked at them in totality, that is how they sent the COVID vaccine. Yet, the practical application was many Black Seminoles did not get the vaccine. Many Black Seminoles in Oklahoma passed during COVID because they didn't get the vaccine. You see, and that was part of now what the Seminole Nation was doing in their playing with this quote unquote administrative reclassification. You see, now they were actually deciding who got the vaccines, even though there was plenty of vaccines for everybody because the government had counted them in totality.
Bet money. Slide to the next one. Yeah, I'm glad you broke that down. So you get a great example of a live experience, right?
Yeah. Hey, but hey, real quick though. So, you know, Doctor, we done a lot of research. You know what I'm saying? So, the example that you gave about when they in Oklahoma, when they chose to go and use black as their status, they lost their benefits, right? That's a great example that you brought up, right? So because we know for a fact, so you said about unifying, and I agree in the fact that we don't have anything in common. And I think based on the research, it's because of we were given this black thing that no matter how we feel about it, like, because when white people said, you know, that's not their conversation, but amongst us, it has taken away our real nationality, which would have changed the way we would have been viewed in American history. Because from what we've done in our research, we're showing that really things got worse for us in this country after the Civil War, not before it. And it was because of the ownership and our status changing, because now we have bought into their system and they have jurisdiction over us. Whereas in the early 1800s, they hadn't made it. They being the 13 colonies in the greater establishment, when they broke away from Great Britain, they didn't have this military anymore. They didn't have the means to be able to maneuver. You know what I'm saying? So there's legal status, because even with the freedmen, the 5 civilized tribes, It's a reason how you just say they got handled is because they are still wards of the government. That position that they are
because of
in
the
is not
tribal,
indigenous.
right?
Oh,
Being
they're
on
Title
tribal
25.
land and being tied to tribal law.
Exactly.
Yeah, Title 25. So even if we haven't, for those, for instance, who have the mixture, but or even say today they're, American Indian, and they're in a Negro status because they show through them doing their research, heritage genealogy, as I hear a lot of people say, that they say how on one record it said Indian, the next one it said mulatto, the next one it said Negro. Now, within those records that I've heard people say, real time, I've heard people say it's a lot that they found, at least they're finding that. And what they're seeing is the transition, right, of jurisdictional things. Now, the word mulatto clearly means a mixture, right? But in any case, we see that even with a mixture, so which means you can have indigenous ancestry, and then you mix with a person of another nation, and then now you're in the mulatto category, which in our case you will automatically be colored, and then also classified based off you not being able to pass. You're going to be looking. They're going to call you a Negro. So in this case, you know what I mean. Those people in America, and I find a lot of people are in that position, but in the category of law, as we just showed, they were brought into the jurisdiction of the Negro category, free people of color category, that was given federally the freedman status based off the 13th, the 14th, and 15th Amendment. Freedman is not a race or ethnic
nationality, yeah.
No, right, it's a status.
It's a status.
Exactly.
Who was being brought in now, freed on the level of federal, based off the amendments, not off of them people already being free, like Richard Allen and all them people that were doing the Negro conventions.
Right. Well, that's the splitting hairs, right? And I just had this conversation with another group of people online. That was a free person of color.
Correct.
See, a free person of color and a freedman were even two different things.
Yeah,
But here's the thing about it: whether you were a freedman or a free person of color, even in Reconstruction, you still couldn't take a white person to court.
Either way, no way.
So that's what I'm saying.
They come together actually in this time frame.
And that's what we're talking about, where the theoretical and the practical. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Theoretically, a free person of color was supposed to be different from a freedman.
Right.
But neither one of them could take a white person to court.
That part, which is in an exile position.
Right. That's what the whole thing, right?
Right.
What they say and what is actually being done are two different things. So the law, right, as we know, the law is only good as it is enforced, right? And how it is being enforced is not applicable to everybody on an even playing field.
You're right.
So regardless to what they say theoretically, we always have to look at the practical application of them, right? ICE is supposed to be running around getting everybody, but we haven't heard yet how ICE is running up in those Russian communities in the northern parts of New York, right? They're not running around up there. They're not. What's the name of that beach? Brighton Beach.
They know. I don't know.
They're not running around Brighton Beach. They're not running around that area.
Hey, federally speaking, I'm gonna let the federal people handle their business. Cause see, I'm not in the position to be worried about them coming to see me. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm in the exile position. I'm undeportable. You know what I mean? I'm not deportable at all.
I think I gotta keep it real, bro. I think it's not our lack of understanding. So to your point, theory and practice, right?
Right.
So in theory, like you said, the Constitution was written in a way, a lot of people still all over the world praise it for the legality behind it, right?
And the principle.
Exactly, and the principle, right? But then when we put the history with it, so it depends. So this really depends on where you are historically in your research. So you just mentioned the Black Europeans, right? So we are of the research mind state that knowing it wasn't just it wasn't a majority of white people in America at the time when that document was created. So what you think about that, Dr. Dixon?
Right. We know this. That's the whole thing of why we're fighting to get this information out there, right? And the internet is a two-edged sword, right? It gives us that ability and the several platforms that it provides, but at the same token, it also allows misinformation out there. So you have to do your own research. If you listen to people and they don't tell you the primary sources that they're getting it from, then at least what secondary sources, what books, it has to be on some foundation now, because it's too much of a two-edged sword, right? It could go either way, and the misinformation is hurting us just as bad. Right?
And let me ask you this. Do you think there's misinformation within major academia?
Yes, of course. And let me tell you something. We see it in academia where, and it's really prevalent in the sciences, right? Where they are coming up with these theories and they're going to the labs, right? And the labs are yielding some of the results that they thought, but not the full results, right? But see, the issue is now the money gets into it, right? You get these private companies that are giving these researchers all of this money and saying, hey, we need these results. Do we kill it? If you can't find nothing, we got to kill the money. You see, and the researcher, that's the last thing the researcher wants.
Right.
So now the researcher is going to do his best to get the results that he claimed was going to happen in the beginning.
Right, because that's what the money tied to.
Exactly.
Right.
Because that's what they gave him the money for.
That part.
Right? And so then when other researchers come along and they see that is not, it's only yielding a 35% and not this 80 and 90%, right? And 35% is nowhere near what you're going to be able to keep going and doing research with, right? Not with the money. The money not going to keep letting you go on with only 35%, right?
Yep.
So we see them going back and forth, and these people are defending their research even though they know it's not yielding what they expected or what our standards would say. And so when we get to the social sciences, we see the same thing, right? That's why it is so important that we go and find those primary documents, right? Because those primary documents give us the clear truth, right? Because in time, people can create all types of documents, right? Just like I told people, I was like, if we don't collect our own history and tell our own story, Michael Jackson is going to be white in 75 years. And people told me that I was crazy. But in less than 5, they tried to do a movie where a white man played Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
In less than 5 years after I told them that.
That's crazy.
Hey, so it's funny you saying that. I got a question for you.
Yes,
so
sir.
So is this a popular source within major academia about Benjamin Franklin, his observations of mankind? Because this is a primary source. You know what I'm saying? I want to know, I've never been to the level of education that you have. So I'm wondering, do they talk about this firsthand account? Because it's a reason why I'm asking this, because I'm going to read a passage from this, but I want to know, do they even talk about this? Like, is this even a subject?
They talk about it. They talk about it, but not in the way that you want, brother.
Okay.
They talk about it in terms of how this type of information is going to be limited.
Okay.
Because there's also in that whole thing with his whole observation of mankind, right? There's another part to that, right? There's more like a diary where he discusses his own upbringing, right?
Yeah.
And in that he discusses in his upbringing, right, in Germany, right? Because Benjamin Franklin grew up in Germany, not England. And in his upbringing, he states that there were more black people in Germany when he was growing up than whites.
Hey.
Now, the thing about it is the discussion, and I have sat in this discussion, brother, and this is why I'm so adamant about what I do in terms of being a public historian and also having a degree in library science and information science, right?
Okay.
Particularly special collections and archives. Because I sat in class in Indiana University, and it was another sister in class with me, 2 other Latinos. Everybody else in that class was white, right?
Oh, yeah.
And this student said that it was their duty to collect and archive in a manner that ensures that they remain the dominant society in America. And everybody, almost every white person in that room, including the professor, was nodding their heads in agreement. And me and the sister looked at each other. And when we looked back to look at the 2 Latinos, they were already looking at us. Like, did you hear what they just said? You see, they are doing this. So that's what I'm saying. These documents that we have to research and dig out for ourselves, right? And find, right? We have to make it publicly known because it's archivists' duties as they see it to make sure that it remains hidden if it's not going to help them remain the dominant society.
Hey, and that's literally what he said. Like in here, okay, so I'm gonna read it. So everybody, we talk about this to your point. We try to hit this at least once a month to remind people that this is what he literally said, what you just said. So basically, on chapter, the last 24th bullet point on here, he say, which leads me to add one remark, that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionably very small. All Africa is black or tawny. Asia chiefly tawny. America, exclusive of the newcomers, wholly so. And in Europe, the Spaniards, Italians, French, Russians, and Swedes are generally of what we would call a swarthy complexion, as are the Germans also. You see what I'm saying? So
exactly,
him with his firsthand account. So when they hear us say about Indians in America that look like us, they think we talking crazy. But to your point, it's plenty of firsthand sources, but this is from somebody everybody's heard of. I don't care if you know very little about history, you didn't heard this name before, but they haven't heard this. I know I never was taught this in school. Like this was never even, only thing we could ever be as a black slave from Africa.
Because this is contradictory. This type of information contradicts the ability for them to remain the dominant society.
100%. That's the white supremacy.
This is why, and do you know where the largest archives in the world is?
Well,
the Vatican.
Oh, yeah.
Why does the Vatican have the largest archive in the world? Because they want to control and contain the truth.
Rome the referee, right, Matt?
Yeah, Rome the referee.
Yeah, nah, it's facts though. Nah, we cooking.
All right, shit.
Where we at with it, Matt? Yeah.
What you got for me next? So we get with Doctor on this next one, cuz.
Angola?
Yeah, I want to go to Angola because Dr. Dixon, I know, you had some.
Which Angola?
Well, I'm talking about the actual West Africa Angola.
Okay, West Africa Angola. Okay.
Right? You know what I mean? The origin.
Well, I mean, we here in Florida, so I thought maybe we were talking about Angola
there's
in Florida.
Angola in Florida.
There's one in Louisiana. Yeah.
Yes, there's one in Louisiana.
You know
That's why I said which one.
Yep.
Which one, right? But the word itself, though, is where I know Congo, and there had titles to West Africa, dealing with Ndogo, and some people translated it to be why they gave that region the name Angola. But at the same time, when that place becomes given the name Angola, even with their chiefdoms and stuff in Angola, with those titles, that was during the time frame when Portugal is actually interacting with that region. And the Congo at this time became Christians underneath the Portuguese. So that influence
with Afonso.
Lafont, right. And that influenced how, what, from my information that I have, and I don't know if, Monte, did you put it in this situation here that I want to show, or do I need to pull that up? Because this area was a penal colony. You know what I'm saying? It says it wasn't not considered like an ancestral place where it was just only people from Angola, meaning strictly, you know, those chief tribes and stuff, were the only people being brought out of that area, because it was literally a place, a penal colony. The Portuguese, basically, it's the penal colony. He sent people from Iberia, and shout out to Nainita when we did that build, and how Monte just even gave that example of those areas we call Southern Europe, and how there was dark-skinned people in those areas, and how the Roman Catholic system during the Inquisition sent people from out of the Iberian area into this area of what we call the Negro de Guinea territories off the coast. So what they're showing me when we researched is that there's not only is people out of West Africa being brought, yes, but there's obviously, it's a hub for anybody actually tied to this exile position because of the Inquisition to be able to now be moved like chattel slavery in the manner of the slave trade, because the slave trade is definitely tied to the Roman Catholic Church and the Inquisition in its origins.
Right, and that's because it was also a way station to Elmina, right? Particularly from those in Benin. When Benin rejected Christianity, unlike Alfonso, right? People of Benin were specifically targeted for enslavement to dig the gold out of the Gold Coast, and particularly on Elmina.
Mm-hmm.
And so Angola and that area became that sort of that way station where they were pulling them out of their homeland in the Benin and in the Bend, and they were going from their place, then being transported as needed to other places in the world, but particularly to Elmina and the Gold Coast to get the gold. Now, the thing about it is, there's nothing new under the sun, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Portuguese set this in place, right? And they do this in West Africa and West Central Africa, basically, right? But it is then duplicated right here in America, because that really was how St. Augustine started.
Right.
See, St. Augustine really wasn't first. The first trading post was actually Pensacola, which we now call Pensacola, right? And then St. Augustine was a trading post. But because of European competition, when the French come and create Fort Caroline up there, you know, just north of Jacksonville, that's when they said, okay, we have to settle La Florida, right? And so then St. Augustine first becomes a government center. And the first thing that they worked on at that government center was a prison. It was a penal. So if you cut up in the Caribbean, and it didn't have to be blacks, right?
Nope.
It was anybody. If you cut up, you get sent to St. Augustine. So what I'm saying all that to say is all of these things, right? All of these things are become part of a full system, right? That's again, that's the practical application of it, right?
Practical.
That the Portuguese create this thing, but then it gets duplicated.
Yeah.
And then it gets duplicated all over the world.
Yeah, remixing it.
Right. Anybody can get it once you ain't following the system.
Right. Anybody you cut up, it didn't matter. You cut up in the Caribbean, you cut up bad enough, you're gonna get sent to St. Augustine, and it's some hard living and some hard labor up there for you.
That part. Nombre de Dios.
Mm-hmm.
That was, and when they did that, funny enough, in St. Augustine, the indigenous tribe at the time was the Timucua, who was in that area when the Spanish came and set up that penal colony. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, penal. But either way, you can keep moving up, Monte, to the next chart. I just wanted to make sure, you know. So Angola, see, there it is. See, as I said, the title, I want to show up ahead of myself.
Yep.
But
that's all good.
Angola, see that Ngola, which is equals a royal title, right? So
that Portuguese connection.
And right, you see Portuguese territorial label, right? Because it's dealing with the people who they're actually, giving them the ideal of you are in a leader position in this region. But there's people in this region again who are being sent in. You know what I mean? Some people are rebelling. The Congo, whoever they warring against. You know what I mean? So they're not. This term Angola is not tied to technically a lineage in a manner of a bloodline. See what I'm saying?
Right.
It's a status term being used that got coined for a people who are experiencing a penal exilarch position at that time.
Now I want to give you one more tidbit as to why that actual area was chosen.
Go ahead.
The indigenous people in that area were known, right? They were known to be very self-sufficient. They didn't like outsiders at all. And most of them were described as short, stocky people. The average man was about 5'7" to 5'10". And when they were primarily utilized on ships, right, to get cargo out of the hull, because they were short. They were short. They can go down into the hull, but they were stocky enough that they can carry everything out like anybody else, right? And so when they come to and bring them to the United States, present-day United States, right, we find it's that same ideology where they don't get along with anybody, right? So if you think about it, if you want to use the best place to send a penal where everybody will not get along, they want this, just like in the prison system today, right? They don't mind when all of those groups and all those cliques and all those gangs stay separated, right? Because that means you won't turn on the you can always turn them against each other, right? And they won't turn on the guards, right?
Minority.
So it was the same way, because we even know we have records where in South Carolina they put a full restriction on people coming out of Angola. Said no more of them. They can't come back. They can't come to the South Carolina colony.
Right. Now, that's why shout out to the Gullah Geechee, Angola, right? That is tied to it. Funny enough, because of the fact of the word Gola. See, this Gola has a double meaning to it, funny enough. And I found it interesting based off the fact that, as you know, this part of the history. Monte, can you give me that strong concordance for Gola?
Yeah.
Let's show everybody this real quick. Tell me what you think about this coincidence.
All right, here you go.
Yeah, make it a little bit bigger for the folk. All right, there we go. All right, you can slide down now. You see that word right there?
No, which one? Can you put a pointer on it or something?
No, go back up a little bit. Go back up a little bit. So you can see it in big letters at the top. You got it covered right there. Right there. It's 1473.
Oh, yeah, Gola.
Gola, right? All right. Now, this word Gola predates Angola or the Portuguese going into West Africa, dealing with that group of people in this 1400s. Because this is a Hebrew word that is talking about things that's in the Bible, for instance, of how people got put into exile, going back from the time frame of Babylon, and then obviously, funny enough, Rome, right? So from that terminology, these people interacting with, what people call the four beasts, which is tied to, systems, imperial systems that are dealing with people being in an exile position. Penal colonies, that's ancient, right? But this word so close to Angola, and the fact that the word Gola, go down to Monte so you can see.
So now, wait a minute. I need a point of clarification here. Look, what is the definition of Gola? Golah?
Well, here we go.
Exile?
Captivity. Yes. You see it?
Okay.
Exile. Captivity. That is what that word means. So when we see it in the biblical scripture, we see it in practical sense of what the Roman Catholic Church, which is the Portuguese, right? coming into a region and putting people in what? Penal, captive, exile position. You see what I'm saying? This
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, right? Because you're taking people out of Benin, you're taking people from even around the world, and you're placing them in this one area.
Ain't that something?
In which they are captive. Okay.
Ain't that something? You know, the same matter of fact, Monte, scroll up and type in the thing real quick so before we can go to the next chart. Because this is a great example. At the top, type in G E U L L A H. Go ahead, search. See what happens. Same exact joint. Watch this. It said connection interrupted, man. You still there? Do this me.
Yeah, shit. It ain't want me to search it, boy. Nah, it just came in. You can hear me?
Yeah, do it one more time, or I'll send it to you.
You can hear me, bro?
GUELLAH?
Yeah. In that same Bible Hub joint. Press search again. There it is. Yeah.
You said GEU or GUE?
Gullah, GE. Gullah.
Oh, GEU.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Okay.
H. You see that?
All right. Yeah.
What does it say? I can't read that.
Look.
Redemption.
Shout out to the Gullah, you heard? With the E though. I put mine with the E. I like the E for the reason of, you know what I mean, when we know what the meaning behind it. Because we want to redeem our folk, right? But at the same time, you see, even in the transliteration, it says Gullah, actually how we spell it in America, right?
Yep.
GULLAH is in there, transliteration of the word Gullah with the E, which is going to be tied to redeeming somebody who was in an exile position or in a captive position, generally speaking. See what I'm saying? What you think about that?
So I'm thinking the redemption then at this point was the reclaiming of themselves and their culture, right?
Correct. Preserving themselves in the position of an exile position, but still preserving what we just talked about, or what we're supposed to be doing today. That's the example.
Even though they were in this position that restricted them greatly through enslavement, they were able to retain their identity and culture. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense though, right? Gola.
And hey, one last thing. You can also be exiled in a land without being removed. Like it doesn't have to be physical.
Right. You don't gotta be displaced like how we are in America and we went through an exile position.
It's a legal position too. So America, if I change your status on where you stand right now, I exiled you in your own land.
Right. You changed my status in my own land. And we predate the nation that is foreign to the land that put us in a captive exile position, that we're the group of people who have birthright nationality to this land, who have not been redeemed technically off the things that they've done to us once we came out of captivity, based off the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. But you can go back to the slide. I just want to show that real quick for everybody out there, because I think people maybe take us out of context. You know what I'm talking about when we say it. You know what I'm talking about? Just so we can make sure everybody see where these words go back to. Because you would say, Dr. Dixon, that word Gola and Gullah means that it's a Hebrew word having that meaning to it, predate the 15th century, right? That's in the Bible.
Oh yeah. I would definitely agree to that.
Okay, for sure. Detachment from geography. By the 18th century, Angola no longer meant Africa. Because it's a P now. It's like it's not even what they are doing, what Portuguese is doing, Kislam. It's crazy. People got to research what Portuguese did to West. I remember they're the ones that claimed it. When Spain claimed Florida in the New World, remember, right, Dr. Dixon? Wasn't it Portugal that claimed West Africa? They claimed it.
Right. That's what the Treaty of Tordesillas, where the Pope divided the world up.
Right.
Gave half to the Portuguese, the other half to the. That's why you have that small part of Brazil that where they speak Portuguese, because it was over the line of demarcation, the parallel line.
1494. That was in 1494 when that treaty was done.
Right.
Yeah,
so
man.
this re-hit right here on what we were saying about being exiled is the loss of your lawful jurisdiction. So a lot of times the way they carrying this out is because Roman, they was claiming a lot of land. That don't mean that they actually had physical possession of the land and had a set up those colonies even when they was getting started, like you was talking about St. Aug and all of them places were small as hell.
That part.
It wasn't these, when we think of town, we think of colonies, we automatically associating them to what we think of cities, what we know today, when these things were small. But when they come in, the reason why their numbers was able to grow is not just because of the physical people being brought in, is because the folks already here, they are bringing into their system.
That part.
This is how they're growing so fast on paper. It supports the growth, but we're thinking it's only from people being brought on boats, no matter where they came from, versus the people that was already on this land who have now been exiled from the indigenous status.
And also, too, out of the indigenous status, even going into what we talked about earlier, so no one get lost in this. After 1865, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, everybody's lumped into this now system we call nation by birth. We were not imported in, immigrated in. You know what I'm saying, Dr. Dixon? We were birthed into that system, what we call today the Emancipation Proclamation. You know what I mean? Been still treated without the pleasures of the actual Constitution. You know what I'm saying? Of what it is in this land that we predate.
Well, right, because like I said, and that actually, because we can see how that's nationally, applied, right? Because even they told Native Americans, you are under this rule, but if you come off of your reservation and you give up that status, then you're about to be homogenized as well into this group.
That part, you still be in the same status as those folk now.
Exactly. You don't get to keep your reservation status now.
Correct. Yep.
No, sir. You can keep flying, I'm gonna tell you. As we know, let people follow along with it. That's all. I mean, because I know we just want to make sure this exile term come across right. You know what I'm saying? So again, strategic autonomy. You see all that Black Seminole, right? Here we go. So this is where I know you got the book, and I want to kind of get to this because obviously with the show, and we got you coming in town for Maroonville weekend. You know what I mean? Shout out to Tamarack, the city of Tamarack, and we're going to be presenting what you got going on with the Black Seminole Project and everything. And this is a great example of people that knew the red Indian and the Black Indian, they say, or the Black Seminole and the red Seminoles, right? And how they try to use their terminologies. They both still are, funny enough, because that word Seminole will relate to them not wanting to be inside that system. You know what I mean? Outlaw to the system, right? Because this is why they're doing all the things that you've been writing a book about, and how even all these groups, like people they would say Angolians and different, you know what I'm saying, are all involved in this situation at this time. So do you mind breaking that down for us, Dr. Dixon?
Be a little more clear. Let me get a little more clarity. What would you like for me to break down?
Dealing with the time frame of how the Black Seminole continues the ideal and traditions of a Maroon group of people that are fighting against the injustice of their lands.
Oh, okay.
Exile, their mixtures, etc., and how they're doing the things in their own autonomous way, how they're surviving inside of captivity. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right, and it's two fights. That's the whole thing, right? The first is that identity struggle, right? It's always been an identity struggle, because when you look at within pure Seminole society is matrilineal, correct?
Right.
And so if your lineage is patrilineal, then already right there you are outside of a clan, and so you've already been regulated to some different type of status, even with the Seminoles, right? And so then when we get to this notion, right, of freedmen, right, the issue then becomes that usage of that word being homogenized, right? Because what we are finding, right, and what you find is that if your lineage to the Seminoles was through your father, right, that meant you didn't belong to a clan, right? So that meant you normally stayed in a Black Seminole community or village, right? And so those got immediately grouped and classified and homogenized with the quote unquote freedmen. So you've homogenized another group of people and kind of taken part of their identity away from them. And so I'm sorry if I'm giving the long answer, but I want people to understand how it came to be, right? Because then when you get later on, right, and you start this creation of the Dawes Road, right?
Right.
And then here comes the $5 Indians, right? And for those just quick, $5 Indians are whites who saw the advantages of being a Native American because they were giving out all of these land allotments. They were actually paying $5 to get on the road so that they could be called Indians, so that they can get land. But what happens is when they infiltrate into these different tribes, they bring all of those and enforce those racial barriers and identities, right? So they divide them even further. And so as time goes on, right, now you have Blacks who have had the lineage, right, who have lived as the group identity goes, right? But because they do not have that matrilineal lineage that makes them directly partial or directly included rather into a clan, now all of a sudden they're starting to see how they have to continue that Maroon society ideology to a certain extent, right? Because as we discussed earlier, you know, it is not just the Seminoles, right?
Right.
The quote unquote Creek freedmen, they had to go to court. They just came from court, right? Before that, it was the Cherokee, right? And so this whole idea of being exiled continues because of these people are questioning identities, because to homogenize them, as we see being done from the creation of the colonies all the way to the creation of this country, homogenizing people puts them into positions where you can get more advantageous over them. And so they were homogenized, right? And in this process, they lost a lot of what they should have had and should have gotten. Even when the government says, okay, we made a mistake, we shouldn't have done that, here's what collectively we're gonna do this, the seed is now a full-grown tree.
When you said that though, like how do you, when you did this research, right, and you wrote the whole dissertation and everything you've done to get to this point of presenting this information, like did you ever like look at it? Because what you just said kind of like, these people are being marginalized, but at the same time they're able to facilitate what they're doing in this time frame of history. You know what I mean? It's the largest war in domestic ideal of American history, right? So
right, it's the pushback, right?
Yeah,
the pushback is successful. See, and that's the story that we're trying to tell, right?
Right.
That because they stayed unified, they didn't let the same way we let these smaller identification things divide us today, right? They didn't let that divide them then. Their pushback was successful.
That part.
It was only in time, right, when the groups themselves, the tribes themselves, established more and more of a relationship with not just the government, but with white society as well. That's when things began to go and revert. And we see them still having to fight the same fights. So in essence, like you said, they're still in exile to a certain degree.
That's right. You got any more, Monte, before we keep, you know what I mean?
Nah, you on it. Cooking.
I mean, any more slides? You got any more slides?
Oh, nah. It was going to the other. Yeah.
They're pretty good then. All right. So,
that's a good segue because you got living history there.
Exactly.
And that's where we are, right?
Right.
We're doing the three phases to melanated people studies, right? To Black studies, if you want to call it Black studies, if you want to call it African diaspora studies, whatever you want to call it, I don't care about the labels because we know who we are, right? And so when you look at those three, right, to what I call the three phases, that first phase, right, is to provide a voice to the voiceless, right?
Right.
Meaning we're going to tell those stories, right? We're going to bring this stuff to light. We are going to bring the Black Seminole experience to life.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second phase, right? Because this story has been whitewashed, homogenized, and even wiped out of some history books, right? So we're bringing that back. And then we're going into the second phase, which are the cultural connections, right? We're showing how these experiences are rooted in shared, not just the shared experience, but also a shared culture.
Right.
And everything may not be the same because even within the Black Seminoles, things aren't the same, right? Yeah. And a quick example of that would be the basket weaving, right?
Right.
We know that the basket weaving has its origins with Gullah and the art, and it developed through that, right? But it has changed, right? Because it has changed even not the technique itself, but the material, right? Because they use silver palm in the Bahamas, sable palm in areas of Florida, right? So what we understand is that, okay, everything has to undergo some types of changes, right? But the issue is understanding those shared cultural nuances. And then the third phase is why we actually even study history, right? Because there is no need to study history at all if we can't take that information and apply it to some of the issues that we're dealing with today, looking for solutions for the future.
Yeah.
Remedy. You know
exactly.
Right. Yeah,
there's no need to study that history if we're not going to apply
it
to today in order to continue and sustain and make a better tomorrow.
I think that's why right now we always give a shout out to the Black Seminoles and the Muskogee. We've had you on here plenty of times. You even brought us on with somebody that was dealing with the court situation at the time. You know what I mean? So we appreciate all that. And obviously shout out to Zadrian and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, shout out to him.
And we just know that it's interesting that right now we're in an exile position. See what I'm saying? And Martin Luther King said it, with just his birthday, the holiday, excuse me, not his birthday, but holiday was just Monday, so passed. And that's one of the famous lines dealing with the I have a dream speech, you know what I'm saying? And when he said 100 years, that's why I started off from we walk back in American history, because as somebody was even trolling about Africa, and we brought up Angola, right? And okay, cool, people were brought from other regions of Africa or had heritage at some point tied to the continent of Africa, right? And those people who made their way into Europe and made their way over here, or made their way into West Africa, Iberia made their way over here, but they're dealing with their nationalism when it comes to them being in a captive position to a foreign nation to them. They're not dealing with it from a continental standpoint. They're dealing with it from a nation-to-nation standpoint. We've been dealing with nation. Our heritage was always tied to nation-to-nation understanding. It doesn't matter if we're dealing with it from a foreign people coming in or the people that was here. Until today, we get caught up in this ideals of racist. You know what I mean? And it takes away, I think, the ideal of nationalism, and you're tied to a landmass of a nation. And then what happened to a group of people who end up in an exiled position within it? You know what I'm saying? Right. So I think that's why, this story that you're telling is obviously the fight within our group of people who are in this position today, heritage-wise, as far as that unique understanding of what we all have in common, but with at the same time, the American tied to the land through birthright, by the way, has this in common. But at the same time, the Black Seminole Project and Seminole, Maroon, Seminole, all them different terms for the groups of people.
Seminole.
Yeah, they're the proof of someone fighting against the system that did this to them, and you're telling that story. So
right, and the struggle to retain that identity, right? To retain their identity.
Correct.
And so that is the main focus of our film, right? That's the main focus of the documentary, to look at these people's experience, look at these people today, and what their ideas and forecasts for themselves for the future. And that's the thing that sets this documentary apart, right? Because the primary voices are not me and the quote unquote experts, but it is the Black Seminoles themselves. Me and another professor simply provide other information that we discovered through research, right? That supports and bolsters these claims and these things that they say about their self-identity and why they have done and continue to do what they have to do to survive. But make no mistake about it, this documentary is 80 to 90% of their voice.
That's what's
plain and simple.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be, the raw footage. And that's what we want in this day and time. We need the raw from the people that went through it, their ancestors went through it in that particular political situation. And not everybody is in their situation uniquely too. That's why, again, American Maroons, we on the side of, because it's tied to autonomy. That's why we understand we're in a maroon position, exiled in our own land. And this is obviously tied to being a freedom seeker, you know what I mean? I'll say autonomously speaking, you know what I mean? In the best way we can within the jurisdiction of America today, dealing with preserving our culture, our politics, and our economics for the benefit of our families and stuff like that. So,
so I thank you, brother, for linking up with me and helping me, showcase this short documentary so they can get behind us, they can support us. Right? They can get behind us, they can support us, and then they can look for the full documentary.
Well, that's the whole point of it. So February 28th, this year, 26th, y'all, we got Dr. Dixon going to be in South Florida with us, Maroonville weekend, the last day of Black History Month. Yep, we have him right here in Tamarack, Florida. We want y'all to pull up on us, you know what I'm saying? If you're in the town. That's the same day the Sis Trunk Festival as well, on historical Black street and history. You know what I mean?
Tap in with us, man.
So tap in with us if you're going to be.
Get some footage.
We'll have footage for it and everything too. And we got some other surprises we working on for that weekend for y'all that's tapped in. Go to the Patreon. We'll put more information in there about the other activities. And this is the flyer that's already going out from the city. Shout out to the city of Tamarack again for allowing us to be involved with their Black History Month this year for Maroonville weekend. We'll be highlighted right here with Dr. Dixon. Where, as you see, that's where the location is. It's the bottom one, February 28th, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. The Black Seminole Project at the Tamarack Recreation Center at 7501 North University Drive. You know what I mean? So if you only got a certain amount of seating now. All right, you only got a certain amount of seating, like 50 people, 45 people. They're telling us, but it's a project. It's exclusive. So tap in with us. we'll be putting reserves and making that available for people that want to reserve a seat or something like that as well. So holler at us definitely and get in contact with us if you plan on coming. All right.
Y'all definitely have to send me that. I haven't seen that.
I know. See how to pop it out.
Yeah.
They were promoting it, and the city said they promoted it. Said, okay, it's too late there. Y'all done put it out. I ain't gonna wait. We gonna drop it tonight while I'm talking to Dr. Dixon right now. I'm gonna drop it. You know what I'm saying? So
there it is.
You know what I mean? They made it official. See, they put it on their program. So,
I'll pull up on us, man.
They know we ain't tapping over here. You hear me?
Yeah.
We tap in the cities and get things done. For real. You know what I mean? So tap in with us. Anything you want to say, Dr. Dixon, before we get out of here tonight? And I appreciate you for your time. Aren't you going to be down here soon?
Sir?
Aren't you going to do something in West Palm?
Yes, I'll be in West Palm on the 31st.
On the 31st?
Yes, sir.
Tap in.
At your back door.
And then again, he'll have his books. So if y'all want to buy a book while he's in town too, he said he's signing them. I'm sorry, Dr. Dixon, you told me so. I got to promote it.
I have no problem with it, brother.
All right, so that book that he got, he'll have them on him, as many as he can, I guess. And definitely, if you are there, you want to purchase the book from him, he will sign it for you, obviously, and then you'll get to ask questions while we're there. Hopefully, we'll have a little session set up for y'all. And again, we'll put more information about that after the presentation on that date. So again, Dr. Dixon, I appreciate your time for tapping in with the party, Maroonville. You heard me?
Thank you for having me, brother.
For sure.
Hey, good, man. Peace, y'all. Hey, so I'm gonna answer this one last thing. Will it be online? I'm in DC. We're gonna try to record it. Probably won't be able to live stream it, but we'll get footage of it so y'all can check it out. Appreciate you for asking, though.
Right. We'll get footage of things as to how they went and everything, but most likely you'll get it after the fact if you're not in town. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So tap in.
We gone.
Peace.
They set my stories in a file, a barcode born to reconcile. But when I breathe, I feel the flame of every soul that wore my name.
They test my blood but not my song. They name me right but spell me wrong. Every drop still testifies we survived what couldn't die.
We remember the hands that pray, yeah. We remember the price they paid. We remember the light, the climb, 'cause the blood remembers time. We remember who we are.
No code, no lamb, no star.
Measure who we are. From the field to the skyline, from the roots to the divine. We remember our name, 'cause the blood remembers time.
Testifying our glory. They say I'm part of this and that, but who recorded where I'm at? I'm every hymn my people sang before this nation knew our name.
We remember the songs they wrote. We remember the words they spoke.
We remember the old and young.
The fight still lives in every tongue.
They tried to write us out the page,
but we remember
our truth don't age with time or cage.
We remember
the blood still moves from line to line.
We remember
every prayer becomes a sign.
We remember
the bayou is
you.